In today's video, I want to speak about the current situation in Russia and Ukraine and what many speculate could escalate into World War III, with the implication that World War III would include nuclear warfare, what could be the most devastating event in the known history of human beings and could potentially eradicate ourselves as a species, as a race, as beings. As I said, this is mentioned in the literature and the philosophy related to the research of consciousness. And now on this channel, I make a very clear difference of what is philosophy, what is speculation, what is the ideas that we can gather around these themes of consciousness, what we can develop with and from the data, the hard data that we have on the studies on consciousness. When I say consciousness, I mean anything that has to do with the cognitive process of the brain and also the metaphysical aspect of it. I'm talking about the studies on the placebo effect, the studies on brain neurology and how the connections are being done, the studies on brain waves that have been done in relation to entheogens, the studies on entheogens, the studies on near-death experiences, out-of-body experiences, all the states of consciousness which are stacking, and as they stack, people have started to make statistics and document all of this and make serious experiments about it. This is hard data. This is starting to become hard data. These are no fairy tales anymore. But also we have the literature, we have the channelers, we have people who come in contact with during their altered states of consciousness. They come with the stories and they're certainly saying the same thing, but we cannot prove this. We cannot turn this into truth. This is with a scientific mindset. This is a speculation and philosophy, and that is fine, and that can aid the actual data. So now in today's video, what I want to talk about is about the data that we have on this. I am going to go into the philosophy a little bit and into some of the literature, but mainly how the data and the research overall that we have on consciousness could potentially stop or prevent World War III. Before I move forward, I would like to remind you that if you want to join the growing discussion on consciousness and would like to be notified on the latest scientific discoveries and theories surrounding this topic and how they connect to ancient mythologies and philosophies, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, as I'll try to upload at least one video per week as I continue with the outline. So in the previous video, I talked about how some of this literature on consciousness, some of these philosophies on consciousness, more specifically having to do with channeling. Channeling is where people claim that they have contact with these non-human intelligences, with these higher beings who exist in the realm of the non-physical or the metaphysical. According to the theory, there's a unified field of consciousness which we access when we are in a non-physical state, when we go to sleep, when people have near-death experiences, where people are out of body. They access this realm where everything is connected. So a lot of the hard data that I'm talking about from NDEs, OBEs, entheogens, say there's this telepathic communication with these non-human intelligences. Non-human intelligences is another way to call what some people would determine as aliens, as beings not from this earth. Now, as I said, this is speculation because there is no way to prove that they are actually having a genuine communication with these beings, despite that the fact that many of these quote-unquote channelers are basically saying the same thing, and it is on par with what the researchers near-death experiences are talking about. So now the issue here, what this literature suggests, is that it is a very bad idea to engage with nuclear warfare, given that nuclear warfare has to do with it deals with the quantum level of reality, and this quantum level is where our soul is, where our what we call soul, what we call spirit, what we call the non-physical is. So altering this non-physical space can have not only the impact, not only the implications of the devastation, the sociological, political, economical, human issues of people, a lot of people just dying for stupid reasons, but also it has an issue where it affects these non-physical planes, perhaps the way in which souls go into the afterlife, and so on and so forth. In this, I'm gonna link the video somewhere on the screen. This is the previous video that I made. As I said, this is a little bit of a speculation. In the reading that I was looking at, they say that this entity Ra, he says that this is why there is contact right now, and this is why they are trying to prevent and trying to help out as much as they can in these occurrences, given that a nuclear weapon has already been triggered on this planet and has already taken lives. Now, as I said, this is where the literature and the philosophy and the speculation, these things that we cannot confirm, meets with the hard data, with things that we have evidence of, which are the articles, which are the reports from ex-military personnel, which claim that there is a lot of UFO activity nearby nuclear bases, and that in fact they have deactivated these nuclear warheads. There's a lot of reports on this, and this is congruent with the literature, and is congruent with some of the other ideas that people are coming back with from things like abductions, near-death experiences, out-of-body experiences, and entheogen-based experiences. They are all saying the same thing. Now, one is the hard data, the articles, the actual reports that we have on things, and the other thing is the speculation. So I just want to make that difference very, very clear. Now, when it comes to the questions, how do we prevent, or if the case arises, we have to stop World War III? How are we going to do this? Why are we going to do this? Now, this ties a little bit into philosophy. I've been wanting to make this video about the Epicurean paradox, which states, which questions itself about evil. Why is there evil in the world? Why, if there's a God, why doesn't God stop evil? It's because either he does not care that there's evil, perhaps it's a plan for evil, or he does not have the capability for evil to exist. But in our reality, we see evil, we see pain, we see suffering, we see the bombing of cities with innocents, and children, women, and innocent men dying because of stupid political issues that these presidents, these leaders have. We see it happening right now in Ukraine. We saw it in Iraq. We saw it in different countries. We saw it in Vietnam. We are seeing this destruction. We see it on the streets. Gang members fighting each other, people who have nothing to eat and just die on the streets. There's all this pain, all this evil, and now a lot of people, start blaming God, if there was one, or any idea that there is any justice, that there's any positivity in the universe, to say it in a way, any sort of positive force in the universe. They go straight into evil, and they ask themselves, what kind of God, what kind of universe would allow any of these to happen? It doesn't make any sense. But when you truly think about it, you realize that all of these things happen because other people are creating these situations. Why is there war? Because two people cannot agree with each other and they go to war. What is there war? Because there are thousands of soldiers, millions if we count the worldwide militaries, who are not thinking for themselves, and they just follow orders and go and kill, creating their own karma, creating their own life's choices as individuals, tainting their own soul complex for the sakes of others. Everybody's looking at Putin, everybody's looking at the presidents of these nations, saying that all the blame stands on them. No, the blame stands on every single soldier who is wielding a rifle. So the question arises again, how do we prevent this? How do we... A lot of people simply understand, and this is something the world is seeing. The world is reacting to it. The world is understanding it. There is no... Despite whatever political mental gymnastics that these people are doing, there is no reason for innocent people who are trying to go on their daily lives to die, to have their cities and their livelihoods destroyed. out of nowhere. There is no logical reason for this. So how are we gonna make them understand? Well, now previously we had religions, we had codes of morality, we had these new ideas that came after World War II, that this was not going to happen again, that we were a society based on science, based on progress, based on justice, based on legality, based on all these positive values that aim to create a more unified world of cooperation, of collaboration for societies, for economies to evolve. That was the whole idea, the whole notion after World War II. Before that, we had religion, which, as flawed as it was and as it is, it brought a little bit of a sense of morality to people, and it prevented them from doing normal things like perhaps having sexual relations, but also killing other people, because it's just morally wrong. People understood that was it. So as I've spoken about Nietzsche in this channel before, what is going to replace God now that we've killed him? The society evolved into something different. What replaced God was this idea of this egalitarian societies, of these progressive societies, of this world collaboration and this European Union, and all of these ideas of political and economic collaboration and progress. Now that is a good idea, but it seems that is not enough to understand what we are as human beings and why we shouldn't just kill our neighbors. So if this was not enough, what is it gonna take? Today in 2022, things are different. We have much more information that any of our ancestors had, than any time in our history we ever had. We have the information, and we no longer have only philosophies or ideas of progress and collaboration. We no longer have a moral compass. We have more than that. We have data and evidence of what we are as human beings and what could be our mission, our purpose in life. I made a bit about this. I'm gonna link it somewhere on the screen. It's a rough attempt at the beginning of the third part of the outline, where I start to come with conclusions about all of this research. But as I said, today we have more than philosophies, we have more than religions, we have more than intellectual currents, intellectual ways of thinking about progress and society and egalitarianism and collectivism and collaboration. We have data of what we seem to be as human beings, what seems to be our purpose, what seems to be occurring at the larger scheme of things. I think one of the most important single sources of this data, of this tagging data, are near-death experiences. Now, at the beginning of when these near-death experiences were starting to be documented and researched, of course, all of these were just stories from crazy people hallucinating, and the stories from a dying brain who was trying to grasp for air and creating these crazy hallucinations. But as time went on, they realized that people are coming with the same story over and over and over and over again. There are so many books about near-death experience. There are so many accounts, and now as social media has increased, and as there are so many websites, so much information going online and being shared, and people coming forward with the stories, as many of the stories have been shared already, and they see themselves in the other person's shoes. They understand, they feel identified with the stories of others because they had the same thing happen to them, and they are speaking about the same thing. There is purpose in the universe. There is a positive force in the universe. They all claim that when they die, most of them claim that there is a live review where they can see everything that they did in the eyes of others. Outside of their bodies, they see their bodies laying wherever they died, and they are having the same story of meeting these beings of light, or these higher beings, or beings who some people think that they are seeing Jesus or God, or some other people think they're seeing beings of light and whatsoever, and they are telling them more or less, as I said, this is a little bit going into the report, going into the literature. There's no way to prove this. There is a way to see the stacking data and to read all the reports and to read where the information stacks upon each other and layers upon each other. But this is the basics that these people are saying. We are all part of the same thing. We are all the same energy, and we are quote unquote learning lessons in this life, and it's all about love, which is what baffles scientists. They don't know what to do with love. They don't understand what love is. I made a video about this. Despite the high strangeness of all of these situations, of all of these reports, it seems that everything is about quote unquote love. It's about treating the other, how we treat each other, because if we go a little bit further into the literature, into the philosophies on this, the channelings and whatnot, the hypnotic regressions and whatnot, there seems a lot of people are coming to the conclusion that this life on Earth is some sort of a school, because the universe is much larger than we think, and the physical plane is only one plane. There are non-physical planes of existence where reality is more, to say in one way, malleable. So our thinking has power, our thinking has energy. So the literature suggests that we are creating everything that is happening in our reality. The fact that we don't understand how all of this is working is creating a lot of the issues that we see in the world. The fact that we do not understand that we are the same beings that we are killing. The fact that we don't see ourselves in the children that is an orphan on the streets, or the elderly man who is laying on a park bench. The fact that we fail to see ourselves in them as part of them is what makes us unable to take action, to really begin to wonder about what really matters in life. If we understood that we are the same people that we're killing, if the Russians understood that they are the same people that they're killing in Ukraine, soldiers wouldn't be so eager to just go into war, following whatever commander's orders they're following. This is one of the reasons why in the 60s, because I am speaking about near-death experiences here, but the same conclusions can come from entheogens, and people go into this quote-unquote DMT realm, this mushroom realm, when they meet entities who tell them the same thing. Everything is about love. You are not who you think you are. You are not your ego. You are not this individual person. You are more than this, and everything is about love. So when people came from the 60s with this idea, and the hippie movement started, and these people were claiming that we should just love each other, we shouldn't go to war, of course this didn't sit well with the government during the 60s, who was waging a war in Vietnam for whatever reasons they had. Of course this is not going to sit well with them, and entheogens were banned due to this. Everything that I've spoken about in this video so far are things that I understand because I've gone through this research, and I've done a lot of research that I've been speaking about these things in this channel, and I will be speaking about these things in the future, and I will try to be more specific as time goes by. There are a lot of things that I haven't even touched in this channel because they're a little bit more controversial, they're a little bit more on the speculative side of things, but having this foundation, this base that I've been speaking about, the research on near-death experiences, entheogens, and out-of-body experiences, etc., you can sort of put the pieces together. And as I said at the beginning of the outline, you can layer all of these sources of information. So whenever I find myself looking at new information, a new text that I find, supposedly hidden emails of whatever, I try to stack with everything that I've learned, with all the sources, and some things go to the little cracks as you layer all of this, and things repeat, and you see these patterns. And this is what this project, A Rational Divine Outline, is based upon. I want to make this outline, this basic foundation of the things that repeat over and over and over and over. So far I've been speaking about the concept of everyone being one and the same force, the same energy. The only way that people who go through near-death experiences, the only way for them to look through the eyes of others is that they are the others at the same time. There's no I. There's no you, there's no others. This has been said in ancient religions. This is the whole message of Jesus and some of the other prophets. So you have the ancient philosophies, you have the new reports on near-death experiences, which, as I said, they've been stacking. Look into Sam Parnia, he's got some research on this. All of these people in the medical fields, these are not esoteric, new age philosophers or anything. These are doctors on medical fields. Pim van Lommel, even Alexander. We have all of these people in the medical field who are trying to do serious research on this. Of course, there are a lot of barriers to this, both ethical and just in the methodology of it. You cannot research people who are dying like they were objects, as science usually does, but they are finding ways to do this. So all of this is stacking. So when you pair this research with entheogen research, you look into the book of Frick Strassmann and the spirit molecule, and you go through the forums and you read all of the reports. There are a lot of forums, social media, on the internet, on blogs, on Facebook, on different parts of the internet, and you can find that the patterns repeat, and they are seeing the same beings, which sometimes in near-death experiences they see, and the message is the same. You are not who you think you are. You are more than your body. I am putting these quotes in this video as images because I want people to look at the quote, and I want them to look at the author, Robert Monroe and Jutta Moorjani. These are two people who come from different lines of research. Robert Monroe did research on out-of-body experience based on his own accounts and his very own experience. And Jutta Moorjani is he had one of the most famous near-death experiences. She wrote a book. Robert Monroe wrote a book, and they are saying the same exact thing. All of these stacked together. Now, another thing that so I've been speaking about the basis of this. One of the bases is that we are the same energy, the same force. We are not ourselves. We are living through ourselves, but we seem to be part of a larger energy. I put that quote from Nikola Tesla. Your brain is a receiver. The information comes from somewhere else. There's all these theories on the Akashic records. I'm just feeling all of this information because I'm not going into a particular place here. And I know that if people make it so far into this video and start to wonder about all these things, they're gonna maybe write one of these things down. They're gonna start googling it. As I'm saying, all of this is going mainstream, and if the people with the rifles on the streets right now in Eastern Europe, in the Middle East, in all these places around the world would understand and would have access to this information, instead of this information being ridiculed or simply being denied because it does not fit the current dogma and the current status quo that quote-unquote science has implemented, maybe we could make progress towards understanding that the concept of killing each other for stupid reasons, for political reasons, is simply not viable, much less full-on nuclear warfare. So as I said, another thing that repeats over in this research is people thinking that our energy, our thoughts manifest things, they create things. At the micro level, if you go into the research on the placebo effect, I made a video on this. I'm going to link it on the screen right now, somewhere below. I've been doing all this research on energy healing and whatnot. Things are coming and they're saying the same thing. It's all about mentalism, the thoughts that you have, the idea, the capacity of you to perceive a future is enough to create a placebo response, and this has been studied and replicated. This is data. This is not something that I'm saying and coming up with. There's a medical concept for this. So when you think about the idea that thoughts, consciousness interpretation can create, alter, modify particles at the subatomic level, and you're reading to quantum physics, we have the evidence, we have the data, and we have the theory. As I've been saying, this is the hard data that I'm talking about. I'm gonna go in deeper, and I've been doing it in this channel, but I just want people to understand that today we have more than philosophy, and this is no new age theories, no philosophies. This is ongoing research that I am covering in this channel, and I'm gonna keep covering in the future. During the recent pandemic, legislation was made upon the data that the scientists gathered about this pandemic. Legislation has been made based on scientific facts. Now, when the research on consciousness, when all this data starts to be understood, starts to be accepted, and for our current scientific fields to remove the dogma that they currently have, and all of this data starts being accepted, the research on consciousness, on who we are, on what is actually going on, is going to go mainstream. And these ideas of, as I've been saying, also there's a lot of information on reincarnation. It's almost being proved that it is a real thing, and as I've been saying, all these people having these altered states of consciousness, they're coming with the idea of reincarnation. So these things like reincarnation, the idea of that we are all one being, the ideas that our thoughts can manifest a thing, so at least at the subatomic level, the ideas that we can heal ourselves, the ideas that perhaps there's more to life than we know so far, all of this is going to be taught in schools in the future. And the prophecy has become true. What has happened in the past is happening today. According to the literature, at least, the idea that a society evolves technologically faster than emotionally or spiritually is a potential death sentence to its further existence. And the only way to prevent this, to prevent World War III, or to stop it, is for our emotional, our psychological, our spiritual, to say in a way, understanding evolves further than our technological development. If you're on the path of finding the truth about reality and our purpose as humans on Earth, the information that I have to share concerns you. After a lifetime of research in philosophies ranging from Buddhism to the occult, I've encountered themes and patterns along some baffling information that is beginning to be seriously studied by science. Our Rational Divine Outline, The Ghost of Jesus, is the first iteration of this project, where I analyze the message of Jesus without dogmatism, fanaticism, or religious bias. You can find my work available on Amazon on the link below. If you find this work valuable, consider subscribing, sharing, and following me on social media, as it'll help others in the same path to find this information. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.